Lots for us to get stuck into tonight. Manchester City have been rocked by the news of Rodri's injury. Looks like he's out for, well, the season according to various reports. Either way, look, I'm going to be honest, it certainly helps us, it helps Arsenal, it helps anybody in the title race, but I never wish or want an injury on any player. It is a big injury though, and a big key player to Manchester City, so it's fair to say it does open up the race a little bit. And I do echo this sentiment. Said, I would like to wish Rodri a speedy recovery from ultra Liverpool supporters throughout our spokesman Craig. Get well soon. Yes, I do echo that sentiment. Look, I want Liverpool to win the league title. I want us to go on and achieve what we want to achieve, but I never wish an injury or want to see an injury on another player. He's already been videoed, by the way, Rodri, over in Barcelona, where it looks like he's going to meet with the surgeon that's going to do the operation. It is a big hit for Manchester City, and obviously, as I've mentioned, it give us a little bit of a boost. Let's be honest about it. It does. If Haaland picked up a knock now for them, you'd be seriously thinking that they're in trouble. And speaking of Haaland, I want to know your thoughts on his antics over the course of the 90 minutes against Arsenal yesterday. Ian Wright believes he was a coward for throwing the ball at the back of Gabriel's head. I agree. If you're going to do these things, do you know what I mean? Don't cheap shot somebody. On top of that, of course, he was mouthing off as well Mikel Arteta at Gabriel and other Arsenal players. So I want to know your thoughts on that. I want to know your thoughts on Bernardo Silva's comments about Arsenal having never really won any of the major trophies, especially under Mikel Arteta, and anything else, of course, you want to go through tonight. Acting after the Arsenal game, for me, I think it's a bit childish. Look, it is a bit childish, but also I can't admit to not liking it. You know, it's part of the tribalism of football, isn't it? And I was listening to Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher speaking about it, and they, you know, Jamie Carragher was saying, you want that bit of needle there as well. What it gets me about the Haaland comments is, it's a little bit arrogant, you know, him saying stay humble to Arteta as an example, or, you know, him throwing the ball at the back of Gabriel's head. And I mean, if I'm an Arsenal fan or an Arsenal player in that scenario, I'm certainly thinking you're in their heads. You know, they view you now as a real threat. So, you know, all of these reactions and actions usually have consequences. And the consequences of this is that it shows that Manchester City are taking Arsenal's challenge seriously. I hope they do with us as well, because I think we need to be taken seriously, and hence the title of tonight's stream. That injury to Rodri, the result yesterday, I mean, I think we're going to be in or around the title race. I don't think we're the favourites to win it, but I do think, as we sit here right now, watching what we've watched so far this season, we've every right to feel that we can hold our own with the likes of Manchester City and Arsenal. And I guess that's what it's about. Nobody's saying we're the best team in the Premier League by a mile, but I think if you ask most, certainly Liverpool fans, and I would say casual observers, if they think our starting 11, our best 11 is as good as anybody else's, I would say most of them would say we're not too far off. So if we can keep the injuries to a minimum and suspensions, who knows? Why not dream about being in a title race? I think we've every right to think about it based off the way we've started. Well, to be honest, Haaland can say that he's the best player in the Prem soon. He can say what he wants, but ultimately you still look like an arrogant arsehole if you're saying that, you know. There's something about having a bit of class about you. Look, nobody's denying Haaland's brilliance. He is a goal-scoring machine, a phenomenon, a physical specimen, a beast of a player. But you don't have to be a petty little twat about it all, like. So, yeah, let's just wait and see how it all pans out for him. It's good to see that they're rattled, though. I take that as a positive. Like, if you're looking at this and assessing it from the outside, you're thinking, yeah, see, they're in City players' heads. I feel we're massively overlooked, said Nomad, by most of the media. Yeah, I would say that's fair. And look, that's okay as well. You know, I like us kind of coming in under the radar a little bit. But let's look at the facts of what we've seen so far this season. Arne Slot has taken charge of 6 competitive games for Liverpool. We've won 5, lost 1, scored 13, conceded 2. It's not too bad, is it? And the one that we lost to Nottingham Forest, you know, we all know that we didn't show up that day. You know, it's not like we were played off the park by anybody yet this season. So, bigger challenges to come, of course. Throughout October, the games become more difficult. But I'm really happy with life as a Liverpool fan sitting here right now. Second in the Premier League as we talk. League Cup game to look forward to on Wednesday at home against West Ham. I've just recorded the preview for that one, by the way. That's going to be out tomorrow. And don't come at me in the comments because I have made a load of changes to my predicted 11. In fact, I think I've kept 2 players. Yeah, I think I've kept 2 players that started the league game in my starting 11 prediction for the West Ham League Cup game. So that'll be coming out tomorrow morning. So please do let me know your thoughts on that. Danny, very kind of you, mate. Appreciate you. And thank you for gifting 5 Anfield Agenda memberships. Stevie boy, I don't think I've brought your comment up on screen. Craig, what is all the hype over Arsenal? From the media and certain YouTubers, they have won donuts. I'm the same. Look, I'm respectful towards Arsenal. I appreciate the strides forward that they've made, Danny. And there is no denying that they are getting closer and closer. But until they get over the line and Mikel Arteta delivers a league title or delivers a European Cup, I agree with you. They're getting way, way too much praise for very little silverware. And there comes a time where you've got to say, you know, how many £100 million players is he going to bring in before they win a league title? They've won 1 FA Cup under the Mikel Arteta regime. So yeah, he's got a pony up, but he's not going to get a better chance than this season probably, you know, with this, well, not unless City get relegated. With the situation as it is with Rodri being out now for the season, the fact that they've already gone to the Etihad and probably feel really unlucky not to have left there with the 3 points, it's just about getting it over the line. And we know, as Liverpool fans, what a mental block that can be. Took us 30 years to wait for that Premier League title. So, yeah, they've got to deliver before they're deserving of all of this praise. You know, you can talk about the progression, absolutely. But to start comparing their players as the best in the world or anything like that, you got to start delivering. You got to win stuff. We might be overlooked at the Mo, but we do have an easier start to the Prem. It'll change when we play the top clubs. United are not one now. Look, you can look at it that way, and I think, Martin, there's some fairness to that, mate. But you can also look at it and say you can kind of only beat what's in front of you as well. And over the course of a 38-game season, yeah, everything kind of evened itself out a little bit. We have bigger challenges coming up over the next month or so, definitely. But you can't but be happy as well, mate, you know. I think striking the balance between not getting too carried away as fans and not getting, not writing ourselves off either. What are your thoughts on the Rodri injury? Same as everybody else, look, I'm not going to lie to you. Am I happy that it weakened City? Yes, I am. But I never wish an injury on any player, and I sincerely wish Rodri a recovery. Do you know what my first thought was when he did his ACL? It was the welfare of the players again. You know, because we had Rodri, we had Bernardo Silva, we had Alisson, you had many people speaking up about the workload on players. And that was where my mind went initially when I'd read about the Rodri injuries. It's just more proof again that the increased workload, the increased demands on these players are going to lead to more players putting more wear and tear on their bodies and this type of thing happening. So, yeah, look, I'm not going to say it doesn't, help us or Arsenal or Aston Villa or anybody else who's up at the top end of the table, but I'd never wish an injury on a player. Jurgen Splurgen, thank you, sir, for your super chat. Appreciate you. Said, Pep has learned from previous Rodri injuries for this to derail Manchester City. Not wishing it for Gabriel getting injured would have more effect on the title. Look, I think a couple of things, Jurgen Splurgen, and I'm going to keep saying the name because I love saying Jurgen Splurgen. So, Mr. Splurgen, I think if you look at Manchester City, right, you've got Rodri out. You've got De Bruyne, who is having to manage his minutes and time a little bit more and is starting to pick up more and more repetitive injuries. So I don't think they're going to be able to count on him too much. This is where their signing of Gundogan back is a masterstroke, because this gives them that experience and another quality player in that midfield. And let's be honest, it's far more daunting a possibility seeing him lining up for Man City than seeing Calvin Phillips, who they've loaned out, lining up for Man City. So I do think that into consideration, the fact that Haaland hasn't had a blip yet or a knock. I don't know, I just get the feeling this is a year that somebody can capitalise on some uncertainty at City. And obviously I want it to be us and not Arsenal. I'm buzzing about Rodri, mate. It doesn't make me a bad man or anything. I hope it happens to Haaland. Look, we never want to wish injury on a player. But there is no denying that if one of your rivals' most important players picks up a long-term injury, I think it's only natural that after you wish the player well, selfishly, you look inwardly and think, opportunity is a knocking, you know? And look, if it was the other way around, if Virgil or Salah had an injury, you bet your ass that we'd get the same platitudes from opposition fans wishing them well, but also they'd be happy because they'd know that we'd be weakened. So, yeah, look, you got to be honest about these things. You know, we are all sitting here thinking, Rodri's out. That's certainly not going to cause us any more problems.